Are you looking for the best and most realistic Madden franchise simulation experience? Well, I'm here to help. With my custom rosters, settings, XP sliders, and much more, I'm going to show you everything you need to set up to get the most realistic and immersive franchise experience. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Madden 26 franchise content. Episode number 2 of the Brown series will be tomorrow, now that my rosters and settings and whatnot are all complete. So we're going to start with the rosters. I have made numerous changes to the base rosters that came with Madden. I wanted to edit the ratings based on my own opinion of the players, the media consensus or general fan consensus of certain players, and then what I think the league perceives of these guys. I have updated a few glitches, specifically the defensive tackle glitch, where half of the defensive tackles get like a +5 boost going into franchise mode for whatever reason. This is the base roster, for instance, where you'll notice Derek Brown is a 91. He's a really good player. He should be quite high. But in franchise mode, he's actually going to be quite a bit higher than that. So this is the roster without editing it. He's a 99 overall going into franchise mode, which he should not be. He's a good player, should not be a 99. This is what the roster looks like in franchise mode at the defensive tackle position. I've always felt like Madden has a bias favoring older players and being against younger guys, although they did a better job this year. But I did make some changes throughout the roster. A.J. Brown and Nico Collins, for instance, I think were underrated. I think we can all agree those guys are better than, say, Terry McLaurin and Mike Evans, who were rated higher than them in the initial roster. Cooper Kupp was once a very good player, but has clearly lost a step here in the big 2025. He shouldn't be rated higher than, say, Jamison Williams, Zay Flowers, and certainly not Brian Thomas Jr. Those young guys who are better right now than Cooper Kupp are now properly rated ahead of him. This isn't necessarily the exact order in terms of how good I think these players are, because I also factored in how well they perform in Madden simulation. Let's look at Josh Jacobs, for instance. He's like the 10th highest rated running back here. He's clearly better than RB10 in the NFL. He's better than Kenneth Walker. He's better than Joe Mixon. But Josh Jacobs plays better than Jahmyr Gibbs, for instance, in Madden Sim, and that shouldn't be the case because Jahmyr Gibbs is better in real life, so I had to patch Josh Jacobs a little bit. At the quarterback position, I moved awareness down for pretty much everyone. During my test sims, I noticed a direct correlation between the awareness rating and the amount of interceptions that quarterbacks threw, and I felt like there were not enough picks throughout the sims. Now again, this is not necessarily what I think of these guys. Brock Purdy does really well in Madden simulation, so I patched him a little bit. Jordan Love is definitely better than Tua Tagovailoa in real life, but Jordan Love is a demon in this game. He is only an 81 because I needed to make him play a little bit more like he does in real life. Bo Nix is a stud in Madden simulation. He is certainly more proven than Drake May and Caleb Williams, but I have him lumped with those guys because Bo Nix is too good in Madden Sim. So this is how you download the roster. You go over to the roster tab and you type in Best Chise Roster as it is spelled on screen. You can also search in my PSN, and there it is. Hopefully, as we get later into the Madden cycle, you won't even have to type it in, and it'll be one of the most downloaded rosters, because last year's version of this video and this roster was one of the most downloaded rosters on the Vault for all of Madden 25. It got over 26,000 downloads and 4 stars, so pretty positive reviews. The people who used the roster clearly liked it. So now that you've downloaded the roster, you want to get things set up inside of your franchise mode with my custom settings. I'm going to do 2 simulations. The first one with the Ravens will be without touching the rosters or the settings or anything. So for example, these are the base rosters that the game came with. Derek Brown is a 99 overall. The settings and sliders are completely untouched, fresh out of the box, and I'm going to show you why using the default XP sliders and settings are not good. The second simulation that we're going to do in a couple of minutes will be with my settings and sliders. I'm going to show you how much better the franchise mode ends up turning out. So here we are after the first season, and the number one thing I noticed with the quarterbacks is that there's not enough interceptions. Why was Jalen Hurts so good? This is glaze. As you can see, across the league, as we sort by interceptions defensively, 17 is the most by one team. That's not enough compared to what we've had in real life recently. In terms of sacks, I think there's too many sacks in Madden Simulation. I don't think there's an easy fix around that, at least in terms of the quarterback ratings. Awareness and break sack, I have not found a correlation in terms of how many times a quarterback gets sacked. So we're going to simulate 3 years ahead. This is 4 years into the future, the 2028 season, and we're going to see how unrealistic these stats are. It's already bad because the Browns and the Saints at 9-8 are in the Super Bowl. So we're not off to a great start. But look at the interceptions for these quarterbacks, or the lack thereof. Now, some guys have a lot, 18 for J.J. McCarthy. But as we sort by team, there's just not that many. The most amount of interceptions by one team is 12. 12! That's not a lot. So as you can see, 4 years into the future with the default rosters and the default settings, the game is not very realistic. There's way too many 99 overalls. In the original roster, there was like 7. Now there's like 27. In terms of the quarterbacks, there's just way too many good ones. In the base rosters, there's only 4 above a 90 overall. Here, there's like at least 15. Let's look at Justin Herbert, for instance. He's an 89 overall, the 15th ranked quarterback in the game. If you put this into my roster, he would be 5th. Hell, if you put him in the base roster, he would be 5th. So that just shows the oversaturation of good quarterbacks who have developed. Sam Darnold's an 81 overall. That's the 31st best quarterback. An 81 overall should somewhat comfortably be a starter. But here, he's one of the worst starters in the game. Let's move over to wide receiver now, as you can see. Luther Burden has developed a lot. That's pretty cool. Love to see that. But as we scroll down here, let's look at Romeo Doubs, who's an 85 overall, not accounting for morale. This is probably a low-end number 1, maybe a high-end number 2, right around where a guy like Jerry Jeudy is currently in real life, 41st. Whereas Jerry Jeudy in the base roster is probably in like the low to mid-20s. There should not be 41 receivers rated higher than an 85. That is way too much. If we look at all the team ratings 4 years into the future, they are way too high. Now, I will point out, even with my settings and sliders, the team ratings across the league will be higher and will be slightly inflated compared to what we currently have. There are not really going to be any teams lower than 80 overall, but what we have here is just way too extreme. There's too many good players. So now we're going to do a second simulation with my roster that I showed you how to download a couple of minutes ago, and then with my settings and sliders. So you're going to want to pay attention and copy these down. Since I'm going to use these settings and sliders in my Browns franchise here on the channel, in honor of that, we will pick the Browns for this simulation. So there is one more fix that I recommend you do with the roster that unfortunately you can't do until you get into franchise mode, and that is the development traits. Now, I wish I could have done this in the initial roster screen and then you can download it, but the only way you can change dev traits is inside of franchise mode. I have roughly 150 personal changes that I would make and I will be using for the Browns series. Now, the one good thing about the fact that you manually have to edit these is you don't actually have to do any of this if you don't want. Say you're a Jalen Hurts glazer and you think he should stay as a superstar X Factor. That's fine. If you don't do these development trait changes, your franchise save file will not be ruined. It takes quite a bit of time to manually edit 150 players, so I would understand not wanting to do it, even though I recommend it. So you don't have to use them, but I recommend it. Fixing the development traits that I believe that EA got wrong. Now let's go through the good stuff. Settings, XP sliders, draft class sliders. Here in franchise settings, most of this can be based on your personal preference, such as gameplay difficulty, quarter minutes. That's how you want it. The one thing I'll point out here is I think I am going to keep development trait regression on. I haven't really noticed any issues with it yet this year, but maybe I'll end up changing my mind. Next up, we have XP sliders. Here is the good stuff. I've spent a lot of time over the last few days tinkering these to where I think the progression and regression rates by position and age are realistic, to where there is a good number of good players at each position. There's not too many good quarterbacks, but there's also not too few. Next up is gameplay sliders. I'm still working on them, and I'll have them in a future video, but I do want to talk about the injury and fatigue sliders. I think 50 is the right number for injuries. Even going up to 51, I think, is a bit high. I feel like there's a bigger difference between 50 and 55 on the injury scale than 55 and 100. If you move that up even a little bit, it's going to be pure chaos. I think 51 would be a good number for injuries for pretty much every position in the game, but then there's just way too many running backs getting hurt. When I put the slider on 51, there was only like 4 or 5 guys a year getting 1,000 yards, which should not be the case. As for draft class settings, quarterbacks should be at weak, running backs should be at strong, wide receivers should be at strong, and everything else can stay at normal. Last year, I told you to put everything at very strong. This year, that's not the case. I think younger players progress quicker, naturally, in this year's game compared to last year, so you don't have to make the classes super strong. Although, of course, for my series, I'll be using my own custom classes. So as we simulate into the future, I will point out that the league-wide rating scale will naturally increase. That's supposed to happen, but just not as much as the original sim I did with the base rosters and the base settings. There's only so much I could do with that because I still need to allow the XP sliders to be high enough for the younger players to get better. We got fired after the first year, which is not ideal, but for the case of the simulation, it doesn't really matter. The stats, as you can see on the right side, look pretty realistic across the board, particularly in terms of the quarterbacks. There's not too many good ones. The interceptions, even for the good quarterbacks, are pretty high. Mahomes threw 12, Josh Allen threw 11. Normally, those guys throw less in Madden Sim. Mahomes and Allen usually get double-digit interceptions in real life every year, though. DJ Reed even ended up with 7 for Detroit. So that shows that clearly the awareness rating going down for all the quarterbacks worked. Do you guys remember in the one simulation when 12 interceptions led the league? Now that's like towards the middle, which is where it should be. 12 interceptions for a defense is roughly average for the NFL. So that means my plan worked. It has not, however, hurt offensive scoring. More interceptions have not directly led to less points, which is good because I don't think there's enough scoring in Madden 26 simulation. So I was able to get it to where there are still more turnovers and more interceptions, but there's also plenty of scoring at the same time. Another perk of my roster is that the younger players across the league, specifically the rookies, are going to play a lot more, which is how it should be because rookies get a lot of playing time in the NFL. We'll use Travion Henderson as an example. He didn't have the best rookie year. He missed 6 games with injury, but at least he was on the field. This is with the base rosters in a test I did. He didn't play at all as a rookie, but here he got the ball over 120 times in just 11 games. That's how it should be. The Patriots used a high second-round pick on him as a running back. He's going to play a lot this year in real life. Let's look at Quinshon Judkins in Cleveland. He did not have a very good rookie year, averaged less than 4 yards per carry. I've had some good simulations with Judkins. This clearly was not one of them. But his rating went up by like 6 or 7 as a rookie because he got on the field a lot. Ashton Jeanty won the rushing title. I did not touch his ratings at all. He was originally an 83 superstar. I let him stay the same. He goes up to a 92, 97 with morale. So that shows that the XP sliders are clearly working. If you're a young player who happens to lead the league in rushing, you should go up a lot. And that's how it was with Jeanty. So now we're going to take place of New England, since I got fired in Cleveland. We're going to simulate 2 years into the future to 2027. This is at the end of the 3rd season. I'm expecting the interception numbers for the quarterbacks to go down because their awareness ratings are going up. And sure enough, I was correct. I have not touched any of the ratings across the league, so I figured there would be less interceptions. The most anyone threw was 13. The team with the most, the Commanders, had 14, which is not ideal. But I have a workaround for that, which I'm going to talk about shortly. Let's look at the rushing stats. There's only like 6, 7 guys who had over 1,000 yards. This is with the fatigue rating at 51. If you put it at 50, there's going to be a lot more. But if you put the fatigue rating at 51, there's going to be more running back by committees. So basically, would you rather see more committee backfields, or would you rather see more guys put up a lot of yards? Like Ashton Jeanty, who's already a 99 at just 23 years old. The XP sliders have clearly worked. Sacks are still at a somewhat reasonable point. I know 22.5 is a lot. I've had some simulations with a lot more. I've seen guys get into the 30s. There's not a whole lot I could do to prevent that other than trying to make some of the edge rushers worse. But let's go back to the interceptions here. The most anyone threw was 13. That's not a lot. There's no way we could go through a real NFL season and the most amount of interceptions a quarterback would throw is 13. So So this is what I would do to fix that. Unfortunately, it costs some manual work on your end, but I would change the awareness ratings for all of the quarterbacks. I would say roughly do -2 or -3 per season. Since we're 3 years into the future and I haven't done it at all, I did -8 awareness for the 32 starting quarterbacks across the NFL, and we're going to see how this directly correlates to more interceptions at the end of the season. I think pushing down the awarenesses also makes the rating scale more realistic. Let's look at Mitchell Boyce here with the Steelers, 82 overall. That should be what, the 20th best quarterback in the NFL? 19th. Perfect. So I think pushing the awareness down by 2 or 3 for every quarterback after every season is the best way to ensure that the quarterbacks put up realistic numbers. So here we are at the end of 2028, after the 4th season. Let's take a look at the quarterback stats, particularly the interceptions, and see how it compares to last season. Well, spoiler alert, there were more. There were not as many as I had hoped for, but there was still plenty more. 16 for Sam Darnold and Tanner McKee. The previous leader, I think, was at like 12 or 13 or something, the kid with the Jets. So, as you can see, it clearly worked. There are not too many elite quarterbacks. Notice how Jordan Love and Brock Purdy, though, were 1st and 2nd for quarterback rating. I told you those guys are really good in Madden simulation. They're still going to end up outplaying their rating, even though I pushed them down a little bit. But the interceptions across the league are a lot more realistic by continuing to push the quarterback awareness rating down. The other stats across the NFL 4 years later still feel pretty realistic. In terms of rushing, Josh Jacobs and Amarian Hampton over 1,400. Bijan Robinson right behind. There would still be more 1,000-yard rushers with the fatigue at 50. So again, kind of your personal preference. I'm still trying to figure out which one I think is ultimately better. Look at the yards per carry, though. All of these guys have at least 4, which is exactly how I designed. In Madden, you have to be a highly rated running back to be good in this game. So I juiced up the XP sliders at running back so we could have as many good ones as possible. And clearly, as you can see, it worked. What about sacks now? I pushed the edge rushing XP sliders lower than they were last year to avoid too many good ones. I was a little worried we wouldn't see a lot of young guys develop, but that was not the case. With these settings, you can still have young guys like Noah Gordon rise through the NFL quickly and get 19 sacks as a 2nd or 3rd year guy while also not oversaturating the position. There's a good number of 99 overall players across the league, pretty similar to what we had with the base rosters. In terms of the quarterbacks, it's not oversaturated with good players, but there are still younger guys like the kid on the Falcons, 22 years old, already a 90 overall. Let's look at, we'll pick Jared Goff here. I think he's like an 82, 83 overall. I would say that should be the 21st, maybe 22nd best quarterback in the NFL. That's probably where it would be with the base rosters. He's starting to regress a little bit, but not too much at 34 years old. And he is the 21st quarterback in the NFL. I got it right. See? Perfect. At running back, there's a lot of good ones, which was the goal. You need to be rated pretty highly to be effective in this game. So there's enough good ones to where there's not too many, but there's still plenty of good running backs throughout the NFL. The older players are going to regress, but you're still going to have some guys like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs effective into their 30s, just like we're seeing right now with Derrick Henry in Baltimore. At wide receiver, there's still plenty of good ones. There's still plenty of young ones, and I think the talent level across the league is more realistic than our original sim. We will pick on Josh Downs for this example. He's an 88 overall, which is a mid to low wide receiver 1. That's ranked 26th across the NFL, which is a little bit high, or at least higher than I was hoping for, but it's not too bad. And then as you can see throughout the rest of the league, the ratings are a little bit higher than what we have currently in real life, but it's not too much per se. I think we're at a good spot with many of these ratings. So that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed. If this video helped you out, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. I appreciate the patience waiting for the next episode of the Browns franchise, but now the rosters and the settings and sliders are all done. We can get that started tomorrow. Peace out.